Welcome to the Monday Monologue. Well, let's talk about what I ran into last week with my 300B amp, and this is just about DIY audio builds in general. You really have to learn to expect the unexpected. And I've run across this several times. It's actually bit me so hard that I actually just put the project on the shelf and decided to deal with it later. And this was a great example of that. I got these awesome ISO Tango transformers, and we're doing a video about that this week too. That's in the hopper. Installed these, decided to paint the bells on the choke in the transformer so they would all kind of match, because it was starting to get super mismatched. I had a blue Ed core choke, I had a black Hammond transformer, and then I had these hammer finish ISO transformers, so it's like, hey, let's do some hammer finish on these and get everything matching. I think it looks awesome. Anyway, plugged it in, turned it on, blew out a super nice new old stock Mullard 5AR4 tube that I've been using for a long time. And it was like, man, I can't believe I destroyed a freaking tube. And I think I talked about it in another video about there was some kind of an intermittent short. So we made a puzzler about it last week. And a lot of y'all guessed on it, really enjoyed the comments, and yes, you guys that said it was the big film cap, you were right. I replaced it this morning, super fixed it, works great now. Had a nice new old stock, actually it's a realistic made in Japan 5AR4. I think those were made with Mullard tooling. It looks very similar, so pop that in. Sounds great. Like I said, we're going to do a video about what these transformers sound like. But back to the focus of this video, you can't get disheartened when weird stuff happens. I had a viewer that built one of these 300B amps, and he had a weird problem where they couldn't get the cathode voltage to come up, and just all kinds of weird stuff was going on. And it turned out in the end to be a bad 5-volt regulator, little chip, transistor, whatever, IC regulator. And that was his whole problem. And man, we went and jumped through a bunch of hoops trying to figure out what was going on with that. But eventually we got it figured out, and now he's got a great sounding amp. I know some people built that Kager amp. There's Dolly cruising by. I know people built that Kager KT88 amp. It had problems, with them intermittently blowing rectifier tubes. And it makes me wonder if maybe they had the same thing going on that I did, because that build used that same Solene film cap. And I wonder if other folks were also having those blowing up on them. And so kind of makes me skeptical about using those in the future. And I may try to find a different source. May just go to the DC Link ones. I've heard good things about those. But anyway, that's just an example of struggling with a DIY build. And another one that I've gotten stumped by, and I'm not sure what's going on with it, the monoblocks that I built from the Tube Lab schematic. One of them makes 8 watts, the other one makes 11 watts. And I haven't really dug in to see what's going on with it, but swapped the tubes all around, redid some of the wiring and really looked through it all, and I can't see anything wrong. And I don't know why one of them is making 3 watts less than the other. But that's something I'm going to dive into. And I've said before, I haven't done a lot of push-pull DIY stuff. Most of the stuff I've done is single-ended. And so that's going to be a good thing for me to kind of learn more about push-pull amps and how they work. And it's just a learning experience. Had another one, and this is the puzzler for this week. Built a pair of these EAR 834 clone phono preamps for sale for people to buy. And the first one turned out perfect. Sounds awesome, just like I expected. And I showed you in another video last week about, the tricks on building these, and how to carefully assemble them and everything. And of course, I, that's supposed to be the professional on these, got one that the right channel has half the volume of the left channel. And at this point, I don't have any idea what's going on. I tried swapping the tubes, and here's the clues for the puzzler. I tried swapping the tubes, and that didn't do anything. So it's not the tubes, and I don't think it's anything with the power supply, because one channel works great and the other one doesn't. And it's not like all distorted or anything. It's just half of the volume of the other channel. And I'll post a schematic below, let y'all look through that, and put in the comments what you think it might be and what I should look at first. And that'll not only help me out, kind of helps this channel stay interactive. I enjoy that so many people comment, and I try to actively engage with folks in the comments, and I do read all of them. So even if I don't comment to yours, I usually put a like by all the ones that, unless it's something kind of weird, I put a like by everything. And yeah, so let me know what you think is wrong with this before I dive into it. But I've decided that this is one of those things, I'm just going to put this thing on the shelf for a week or so and work on some other projects. Got my 300B amp sounding fantastic. I want to start working on the production 12AX7 EL34 amp, and I'm probably going to jump into that before I try to figure, well, I don't know. I may look at this. But anyway, don't get disheartened if things don't work out perfect. I know I saw in my forum and on Audio Karma, somebody built the little 6LU8 and had some issues with, I think, a tube. The tubes weren't matched well, and then one of them blew a cathode bypass cap. That could just be a bad part. And I mean, the struggle that we have doing this stuff hopefully is a learning experience, because it has been for me. I learn more when an amp has a problem than I do if everything goes smoothly. So I have to tell myself that, and I get pissed off at this little phono preamp that it's not behaving. Anyway, up and coming, the R300 stuff. One of the guys, Woody, brought me some Western Electric 300B tubes that he had bought for his R300. And so we're going to be doing a comparison between the Shugi 300B-Z tubes that I've been listening to and these high-end Western Electrics, and see if there's something that I've been missing, not spending the money for these. Like I said, got a video probably going to come out today or tomorrow about these ISO transformers. Spoiler, they're really good. I know they're expensive, but they're really good. So we'll go over that. Been enjoying listening to my KT120 monoblocks. I did try some KT90s, and they didn't want to bias up real good either. And so I got some 6550s. I'm going to try those. And I'm starting to wonder if there's something about a fixed bias single-ended amp that I'm missing. And that, would it be better if they were cathode biased? And would I be able to run them hotter if they were cathode biased versus fixed bias? So we may be experimenting with that. The other thing that I'm going to be working on is I've still got the chassis from my Kegger KT88 build, and now that I've replaced these, I've freed up those EdCore 5K output transformers, which, that would be a good project to use them on. And again, I don't think that they're going to perform at the level of these ISO transformers, but they're not horrible. So probably going to do a build with those, and might do them as like a KT90 cathode biased, although we may do them as a 6550 single-ended amp, which is a little more power than a KT88, and try cathode bias and play around with that and see what we can learn from messing around with that stuff. So that'll be a fun little project, on the side. And then again, we're going to get this 12AX7 EL34 build going. I need to update my website. Somebody pointed out the bomb for the EAR 834 clone has got the wrong chassis. It's got the wrong, back when I was doing them with them longer. And, some of the stuff in the bomb, the standoffs are different now and stuff. So I need to update that. And probably going to update the schematic on the 6SQ7 EL34 amp to 5K transformers. I need to sit down and do all that, but obviously that's just another time sink that I got to find time to do it all. So anyway, that's kind of it for this week. Hope you're enjoying this content. I hope you're enjoying my channel. If you are, please subscribe. We're almost at 11,000 subs, which is awesome. Thanks to all you Patreon folks. Also, if you folks make donations at my website, that helps me afford to build some of these cool projects and stuff so I can share this content with you on how to do hi-fi audio on a budget. And we'll see you for the next Monday Monologue.